She didn't say anything. She didn't call you with words. She didn't give you explicit signals. She didn't give you verbal permission to advance. But her body screamed. Her body called you with a volume that only the attentive can hear. And most likely you ignored it because that's what most men do. Not out of stupidity, but out of conditioning. We're taught to listen, not observe. To wait for words, not recognize physiological patterns. To trust what she says, not what she feels. The problem? The female body doesn't ask permission to speak. It whispers, tenses, surrenders itself in silence. The body doesn't lie. The pupils don't lie. The shoulders don't lie. The breath doesn't lie. Only the stupid man, and here I speak with strategic brutality, continues to believe she needs to say yes with her mouth. When the yes has already been said with her irises, with her hips, with the fingers that touched her own neck 3 times while she listened to you speak. The brutal truth is this. Female desire is involuntary, biological, and incredibly sophisticated. And worse for you, it hides itself, not to hinder you, but to protect itself. Because behind the body language of lust lies an ancient mechanism of preservation and evolutionary strategy. A woman can't be too obvious. She needs to signal without exposing herself. She desires and protects herself from her own desire. A woman who feels genuine attraction for you doesn't want to be read by just anyone. She wants to be noticed only by those who know how to decipher it. This is the secret game you were never taught to play. And this is where most men lose, because they confuse seduction with logic and forget that lust resides in the unconscious. What she feels doesn't pass through reason. It passes through the autonomic nervous system. And what it activates, she can't hide, even if she tries. Have you ever noticed that a woman can be silent, and yet the atmosphere changes when she enters? This isn't esoteric energy, nor a vibe, as the ignorant call it. This is biology in action. It's the male brain trained for millennia to capture reproductive signals, reacting to what was designed to be irresistible. Posture changes, gazes fixate, time seems to slow down, and yet, even with this visceral impact, most men remain blind. Let's get to the heart of the matter. When we talk about female attraction, we're dealing with involuntary responses from the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems, the 2 poles of the autonomic nervous system. The former prepares the body for action and arousal. It increases heart rate, dilates pupils, and activates erogenous zones with blood flow. The latter ensures calm and recovery. A woman in a state of lust is under the control of the sympathetic system. That's why her skin heats, her eyes sparkle, her voice changes, and her breathing deepens. These signals aren't decorative. They were sculpted by thousands of years of evolution to communicate sexual interest without compromising social security. Nietzsche once said, "What is done for love is always beyond good and evil, but what is done by instinct is beyond consciousness." And herein lies the central contradiction. A woman wants but doesn't want to appear to want. She desires, but must deny her desire to maintain control of the narrative. This isn't manipulation, it's biology. Let's dig deeper. The Spanish philosopher Ortega Gasset stated that the combination of fascination and surrender is the essence of love. And this is exactly what the female body manifests when aroused. Fascination with the object of desire, and a physical surrender that escapes rational control. Only this surrender is disguised because the game of seduction requires camouflage. The more unconscious a man is, the more he is excluded from this game. One of the greatest errors of modern masculinity is the belief that women only demonstrate desire when they verbalize it. This logic has led us to waste decades in friend zones, lukewarm interactions, and desperate attempts to impress those who are already sold at the first touch of their hair. Worse still, this belief has led men to interpret signs of pure lust as simple politeness. A long look, she's friendly. A prolonged laugh, she's outgoing. A lingering touch on the arm, she's affectionate. Nothing of the sort. She's saying, "I want you," but in a language you never learned to read. And here lies the key to decoding this hidden language. The body of a woman in love doesn't behave like the body of a well-mannered woman. The former has micro-expressions, muscle tension, and posture changes beyond her control. The latter doesn't. A sexually interested woman displays unrehearsed signals. She's not trying to appear sexy. She's being driven by a biological process. She's not wanting to win you over. She's reacting to something your body has awakened in her. And what impact does this have on you? Simple. If you don't learn to observe the female body as an attraction radar, you'll continue to go in circles. You'll invest energy in women who only see you as harmless. You'll reject smiles that were, in fact, silent invitations. You'll ignore dilated pupils, which are the purest sign of desire, because pupils don't obey orders. They only respond to one thing: arousal. The beauty of all this is that this knowledge is available to any man willing to evolve. It's not a gift. It's not genetics. It's sexual intelligence. It's the study of raw reality, not canned romanticism. A woman won't give you explicit permission, but she will leave the doors wide open if you know where to look. But here's a brutal warning. Knowing how to identify these signs is the beginning of power. But ignoring them once you've seen them is the beginning of cowardice. The man who recognizes a woman's silent surrender and doesn't know how to act is condemned to live between missed opportunities and belated regrets. Therefore, her body will keep talking. The question is, how long will you remain deaf? And if you think these signs are too subtle to notice, prepare for a shock, because what comes next is no longer theory, it's practice. We'll dismantle layer by layer every gesture, every look, every touch, and every sound the female body produces when true desire takes over. And when that happens, the biological truth emerges, and there's no disguising it. From now on, you'll never look at a hair touch the same way again. You'll never look at a lingering glance without wondering, is she testing me or inviting me? And perhaps most dangerously, you'll begin to realize that many women have desired you, but you were too busy waiting for them to speak. We've reached the border between ignorance and perception, and the crossing begins with the next step, learning the silent language of female lust, a code few decipher, but which is right before your eyes all the time. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. She says, "Thank you," and smiles. You return it, perhaps finding it endearing. But what you didn't notice was what happened in the seconds before that smile. Her neck was exposed as she tilted her head. Her pupils dilated slightly. Her right hand ran over her forearm as if seeking affection, or stimulating her own nerves. That wasn't just gratitude. It was biology trying to slip through the cracks of civility. What separates the average man from the social strategist is the ability to observe what's unsaid. Female seduction isn't explicit. It's built on the art of plausible deniability. The woman who desires never commits to the obvious. She teases without appearing vulgar. She displays signals without giving in. And this code was designed to be indecipherable to the unprepared. While the inexperienced interpret everything as sympathy, the trained man sees clusters. Signals that, in isolation, might seem coincidental, but together they are silent declarations of desire. The problem is that you grew up hearing that seduction was about words, about clear actions, about direct verbal consent. This is important, yes, but what comes before language is the body, and it's there that the true code resides, and it all starts with the eyes. The female retina is the primitive radar that exposes what she dares not say. When a woman is aroused, her pupils dilate. No matter how bright the light is, it's adrenaline kicking in, the sympathetic nervous system taking over. And along with the dilation comes the bedroom look. A slower gaze with slightly lowered eyelids, soft focus, and the recurring return of her eyes to your lips. A woman who desires you thinks about a kiss before even touching your hand. And where she looks reveals what she wants. But the look alone isn't enough. It needs to be read in conjunction with touch. And feminine touch in this context is a game of layers. It begins with the accidental, which is never an accident. That brush in the hallway. The handing over of an object that involves unnecessary contact. The hand that holds for a second too long. These touches are tests. Small advances to gauge your sensitivity and understanding. If you respond firmly and elegantly, she advances. If you hesitate or ignore her, she retreats, and the game is over. But there's another touch that's even more revealing. Self-ouch. The woman who touches her own neck, plays with her hair, caresses her own arms, isn't distracting herself. She's amplifying her own desire. And biologically, she's releasing oxytocin, relaxing bodily tension, and placing herself in a state of sensual vulnerability. This isn't charm, it's instinct. This subtle sensuality also manifests itself in her voice. Her tone changes, her voice lowers. The rhythm slows, as if each word needs to be felt before being spoken. Arousal affects the muscles of the larynx and alters her breathing pattern. She speaks slowly. Sigh emerge between sentences, and sometimes murmurs escape. You may not even consciously notice it, but your primitive brain picks it up. That's why you feel like something's there, even when she's talking about the weather. And speaking of time, it seems to expand when she's near because your body wants more and so does hers. Her breathing deepens, her chest rises and falls at a different rhythm. This change is involuntary and absolutely visible. Anyone paying attention notices that the chest movements, the slight parting of her lips, the accelerated oxygenation, all are signs of arousal. Now we enter one of the most fascinating areas of the code: hair. Women's hair is a biological weapon. By touching it, she not only displays her femininity, but also releases pheromones through the friction between her scalp and hands. When a woman tosses her hair to the side and exposes her neck, she is in effect revealing a highly vascular and sensitive area. She is unconsciously saying, "I am open here." The hair twirling around her finger, the repetitive smoothing of the ends, the gesture of adjusting the volume, all these are signals, but only for those who know how to observe. And where she is matters because women in a state of true desire break the rules of personal space. The distance between you decreases. Even if the environment allows space, she moves closer. She leans in, she sits closer, and she begins to create intimate bubbles within social contexts, corners, hallways, walls, any environment that reduces the influence of others. She wants privacy within the crowd, and this intensifies when other women are nearby. The body of a woman in desire becomes territorial. She positions herself between you and others, creates subtle barriers, touches you more often, laughs louder, shows more skin. She's competing. She's marking you as mine. It's primal. It's tribal, and it's definitive proof that there's real desire involved. But perhaps one of the most disconcerting and least understood signals is behavior around food. Yes, food. A woman who desires you becomes more sensual when eating, licking her lip, biting slowly, suggesting you try her drink, sharing a straw. These are oral symbolisms. These are behaviors that hark back to the oral phase of Freudian psychology, connecting nutrition with sexuality. Is it strange? Maybe, but it's real and it works. And all these signals converge into a final synchrony mirroring. The woman who desires you unconsciously mimics your movements, breathes in the same rhythm, adopts the same posture, reacts to your gestures with micro adjustments of the body that create an invisible connection. This is no coincidence. It's her nervous system trying to align itself with her potential partner. Her body is saying, "I want to dance to your beat." And the more you master this code, the more you see what's always been there. It's not like women suddenly started desiring you. Now you have trained your eyes to recognize when your body speaks. And the cruelest part of all this, it's realizing in retrospect how many opportunities you missed, how many glances you ignored, how many touches you thought were all in your head, and how many women left your life. Certainly you were too blind to understand her silent invitation, but there is redemption in this process. From now on, you are no longer the same. The ignorant man lives in the comfortable illusion that they don't show it. The trained man sees desire before the woman even understands what she's feeling, and he responds with confidence, with precision, with respect, because seduction, when understood in its essence, isn't invasion. It's a refined reading of another person's biology, and this is where most people stumble. They think seduction is about external techniques, but it isn't. It's about internal sensitivity. It's about listening with the eyes, interpreting with the body, and acting with the mind. A woman who desires won't scream. She will allow herself to be read. She'll test whether you're man enough to understand what boys don't see. And now, with this code in hand, you have no more excuses. Either you act, or you continue to be a spectator to your own social mediocrity. But be careful. Knowing how to recognize signs is a power. And, like all power, it requires responsibility. You're not here to play with emotions. You're here to build real interactions based on keen perception, mutual respect, and true desire. But this is only possible when you understand the difference between real attraction and mere social convenience. And that's precisely what we'll explore in the next chapter. Because while you get excited about the right signs, there's another danger, as lethal as ignorance. Investing energy in someone who never wanted you, in someone who never showed the slightest sign, and yet you believed you could change the game. And then, my friend, you enter the death zone. Imagine spending a lifetime trying to open doors that were never locked, pushing hard, insisting, strategizing, without realizing that the handle didn't even need touching. It was already open. And now, imagine the opposite. Knocking, begging, forcing your way through doors that were always sealed from the inside, where there was never a crack, no invitation, only the illusion that perhaps with more effort you could get in. This is the brutal difference between recognizing genuine desire and being devoured by fantasy. The death zone isn't where the rejected go. It's the graveyard of the deluded, of those who mistook sympathy for a sign, of those who ignored the absence of sexual tension and persisted in hope. The death zone is where emotionally illiterate men pour energy into women who have never felt even an ounce of excitement for them. Not because they're bad, but because they were clear. You just couldn't read the silent language of disinterest. And this is where the truth becomes unbearable. Because most men who live in this zone have been fed toxic romantic comedy narratives, where, if you persist, she'll realize she loves you. No, she won't. A woman who shows no signs of physical arousal, who doesn't touch you, who doesn't look at you with dilated pupils, who doesn't mirror your gestures, who maintains a deliberate physical distance, is saying with her body, "Don't come near me." And by ignoring this, you are violating not only your reading of the moment, but also your own dignity. The death zone becomes even more lethal when a man interprets the absence of a signal as a challenge. When he thinks the lack of desire is something that can be reversed, as if lust were something you can provoke, with magic words, with favors, with attention, it isn't. Desire is visceral. It explodes in the first few minutes, and if it didn't happen then, it probably never will. And even if it happens later, it will be for reasons that have nothing to do with you and everything to do with her emotional state, with neediness, with boredom, with escape. None of this is conquest. It's an accident. Kierkegaard's philosophy talks about the leap of faith, a movement toward the unknown without guarantees. But applying this to seduction without understanding reality is social suicide. The true leap of the strategic man is not blind. It only happens after the signs confirm the existence of the ground. One does not jump toward nothingness, hoping that desire will blossom upon impact. And nature is relentless with those who ignore its language. The body of the woman who doesn't want you is a stereo field. There is no warmth, no touch, no closeness. She crosses her arms. She keeps objects between you. She looks away. Her voice remains the same tone, firm, clear, without hesitation. And above all, she does not change. She does not transform because desire transforms always. This is why the man who has learned to decipher the female body acquires a rare kind of power. He saves life. He stops insisting where there is no fertile ground. He cuts lukewarm connections at the root. He begins to ignore what is comfortable and seeks what is real. And here comes the paradox. By stopping chasing, he begins to attract because women instinctively recognize the man who knows how to recognize and respect the absence of desire. He is rare, he is feared, he is valued. But here's the final blow. The woman who desires you will make it clear. Maybe not with words, maybe not with declarations, but with her body, with her scent, with her touch, with the way she surrenders herself to silence. You don't need to beg for signs. They will come. If they don't, you already have the answer. A man's social death doesn't happen when he is rejected. It happens when he insists on the unreal, when he refuses to accept biology and tries to transform affection into excitement. They are different languages. A woman can love you as a friend, respect you as a man, admire you as a human being, and still not want you sexually. And that's okay. The tragedy is not knowing the difference. The great secret to sexual intelligence isn't winning over more women. It's stopping chasing the ones who don't want you. It's understanding that every unreciprocated gesture is a reminder that you're wasting your vital energy. The right woman, the biologically right one, will manifest herself with clear, even if subtle signals. She will create context, close the gap, and increase tension. She will choose you without telling you, and it's up to you to recognize it. In the end, the true man isn't the one who wins them all over. He's the one who knows exactly who deserves his attention, because he understands that seduction isn't a war of persuasion, it's a dance of perception. And the music begins when two bodies say yes. Even before the mouth says anything, you can no longer pretend you don't know. Her body has spoken or will speak. The choice is now yours. Continue to ignore humanity's oldest language or become fluent in what most men will never have the courage to learn. If you've made it this far, you know that most men still live in the dark. They listen to words, interpret kindness as signals, waste years trying to win over those who have never felt anything. You are no longer that man, because now you understand what's at stake. The difference between social perception and biological reading, between being chosen and being ignored. And more than that, you sense that there's something deeper behind everything that's been said so far. A layer beneath the surface, a code. And if you struggle with having one-night stands or making an impression on the first date, then pay attention. We created 9 pre-date hacks, your pre-date guide to getting laid, a 10-minute game changer to end disappointment. This ebook kills your pre-date panic with 10 proven hacks. Flip that shaky mindset into king-level confidence. Magnetize her attention and walk in ready, all in, under 10 minutes. Say goodbye to feeling disappointment and hello to rejection-proof swagger, crafted for guys who demand results. Inside, you will find practical steps and exercises, such as a 1-minute mindset reset to ditch doubt, a 2-minute style blitz to look unstoppable, flirty openers to break the ice, and bonus moves to seal the deal. No more scrambling, download it to your phone for instant access. Perfect for beating those awkward silences or refreshing your Casanova flair anytime. As a bonus, the ebook includes audio files discussing topics such as number 1 thing men should do on a first date, according to psychology. No BS dating advice for men. Most men blow the first date. Ready to rise and seduce women? Grab it now, link in the description. Download, level up, and transform your game. If you want to support the channel, smash that like button. See you in the next video.